So good morning. Today is Friday, March 20th. It's 10 a.m. This is the third of the sequel addressing the current orders and how it affects your family law case. As the participants come in, I'm going to mute everyone. If you have any questions, please make sure that you type them in the chat. Again, I know that there's a lot of questions. I know that there's a lot of uncertainty, but that's what we're here for. We're here to give you as much guidance as we possibly can. Please remember that these are some uncharted territories. This is something that I certainly didn't expect it in my lifetime. So we will try to give you guys as much guidance as we possibly can. With that said, I'm just going to ask the question, the biggest question, which is, how does this new governor's order of shelter in place affect custody and visitation, and how do we cope with it, and how do we deal with it, and for how long? So Gina, I'm going to start with you. If you can, actually, I apologize. If you can start with just a brief intro about yourself, name, and how long you've been doing family law, so our participants can get to know you guys better. Gina, you're first.
Thank you, B. My name is Gina Famularo, and I am a family law attorney for the last 23 years. I practiced in Orange County for 9 years and have been in Riverside County for the last 14. Throughout my entire career, I have only practiced family law.
Thank you, Gina. Christy?
Good morning, everybody. First, I just want to say that we're all in this together. So we're all here for each other, and we're here for you. About myself, I've been practicing exclusively family law for the last 17 years. And I joined the firm about 1.5 years ago. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Christy. And Colleen?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Colleen Robinson. I've been practicing for 10 years here, and I came from San Diego County, and I'm now in Riverside County and practicing all over Southern California, exclusively in family law.
Thank you. And I'm Bishoy Shahada. I'm probably the youngest attorney on the panel. I've been an attorney for a little over 2 years, but we're all surrounded by over decades of experience in this area. So thank you again for joining us. If you are joining us, you're going to be muted. Please take advantage of the chat room. Ask us your questions. The main topic today is obviously going to address the issue of the new governor's order of shelter in place. So Gina, back to you. How do we cope with this?
That's a good question. This is, as Christy pointed out, uncharted territory. If we're talking specifically about the governor's orders, for those of you that don't know, yesterday, Governor Newsome indicated that we are to shelter in place, meaning we are not to leave the home except for essential trips. That would be groceries, pharmacies, some private sectors like gas stations are open. I believe some plumbers, electricians are open, but pretty much we're supposed to close our businesses unless it is an essential business. What does that mean with regard to child custody and visitation? That is the issue we as attorneys are struggling with to answer for our clients. And I think where we have to start, B, is what is the public policy behind Governor Newsome's order? It's my opinion that he put in place the shelter in place order because he issued a report that 57% of California will be infected with COVID-19 in 8 weeks if we do not remain in our homes. So it is my opinion that the purpose of the shelter in place is to protect the public, to limit contact between the public, to eliminate face-to-face contact, touching, those types of things. So in my opinion, the purpose of the order is to, will override the visitation orders. In my opinion, the governor's orders is going to trump current visitation orders.
When you say it is going to trump visitation orders, so I am the non-custodial parent, and with this order of shelter in place, how am I going to, or am I going to be able to see my children?
Christy, can we have Christy answer that?
Absolutely. Christy, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. So you should be good to go. Can you do me a favor and unmute yourself on your end? I think you mute. There you go.
I did. So repeat the question. It was if
I'm the non-custodial parent. This new order is in place. It's a governor's order. Gina indicated that in her professional opinion that it trumps the existing court orders. So how, or will I be able to see my children?
unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be possible right now. And understand that we have to look at court orders and try to apply them to the situation to the best of your ability. So unfortunately, if you're the non-custodial parent and your child is with the custodial parent, that's going to be the way it is for now. Obviously, you're going to need us because you're going to need us to help facilitate FaceTime contact. You know, this is, and Gina pointed it out the best, is that this is a health and safety issue. So that's what we're concerned about. I understand that it's going to be horrible for you because you're not going to be able to physically see your child, but this is for the safety of your child, and this will pass. I think this is a preventative measure and it will pass. So there will be plenty of time for makeup time. Maybe you get the summer next year or this year. You know, we'll figure out a way to implement visitation makeup time that will make you whole again. But again, this is about the safety and health of the public. And I think that we need to be very mindful and very gracious and very patient with this process. But I think that if you don't have your child right now and you're the non-custodial parent, you are unfortunately and sadly not going to be able to see your child right now.
And if I can add to that, I think because people typically look at it as a case by case, and it's not. You have to consider the larger scheme of things. If
Right.
every parent in California thinks that what's the harm if I go meet with the other party and exchange the kids really quickly? What I think you're not considering there is, number one, if everyone thinks the same way, then there's going to be thousands of people that are going to be conducting these exchanges, and now it exposes everyone else to this to this virus. And the other part is that transferring the children from one home to the other not only puts the children at risk, which I mean, they're your kids, but it also puts everyone else at risk. What if mother has the virus and she doesn't know about it yet because she hasn't been tested, which means that the child's been exposed, and now you're exchanging the child, and now the child's going over to your home, and the child's been exposed to it, you've been exposed to it. If you have a grandfather or a grandmother at home, or your, siblings or any other minor children, you're exposing everyone to that. So I think, again, and Gina again put it best, it's a public safety issue on a much, much larger scale. There's 35 million people that are going to have this conversation and are going to have to address this issue. And we ask that everybody be patient, because there is no rule book for this. This is again, uncharted territory that we've never dealt with on such a scale. And we're sure that the orders are going to become stricter and stricter as time passes, but it will pass. It really will. It's just a matter of time. We did receive 2 questions that kind of, they're more specific on this topic. The first question is, I'm currently in Montana. I drove up to Montana earlier this week. I'm scheduled to return to Riverside County by car on Saturday. will I be able to return? I'm gonna unmute you, Colleen, to address that. So you're up.
To be honest, I'm not. My only information is just what I've heard from other people in different counties who have been in the shelter in place much longer than we have, as it hasn't even been 12 hours for us down in San Diego County and here in Riverside County. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they're going to be bringing in law enforcement or National Guard to prevent people from going on the highways or not. I mean, I don't know your particular circumstance in Montana, but before I get in the road and start getting on and starting along that kind of road trip, I'd certainly see if I can make phone calls or check the internet, or I'm not sure, but that's a long way to find out, get halfway and you're not able to go any further, because I have no doubt that other states are going to follow suit, because it's my understanding New York also issued a shelter in place this morning.
Thank you. And
I
again,
would like to add to that, B.
absolutely. Go ahead, Gina.
I think that we all can agree that the situation is changing not by the day, but by the hour. Just look at how life was so different a mere week ago. Now we've got these orders, shelter in place. It's my understanding, based upon what Governor Newsome said, is that the National Guard is going to be coming out to give out food already. It's my understanding that the military is on standby. I've heard this from a member of the LA County Sheriff who's a family member. B has heard that the military is on standby through the military, through a source through the military. Things are changing. We're all hearing rumors. So yes, I think that to be safe, if you want to come home, you come home today. You don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if you're going to be able to get home. Tomorrow is a long way away, Saturday.
Yep.
So I know that I was supposed to go on a medical mission yesterday to Mexico. It was canceled 3 weeks ago, and there was something called COVID-19 nobody had heard about. Yesterday, there was an order from the State Department that all Americans are to immediately return home. So I would not bank on in a day being able to get home. I would get home today. Do you agree, B?
Absolutely. Again, we don't know how strict or stricter these rules and orders are going to become. So err on the side of caution, take action now so that you are not stuck without resources or away from your family. Just make sure that you are as proactive as you possibly can be and take advantage of the fact that our borders, our domestic borders, are not closed, right? Because people travel back and forth, and at some point they're gonna have to stop that. If it's such a public safety concern, they're going to have to stop the flow of people going back and forth. And Colleen, I know you raised your hand, so I'm gonna unmute you once more to add to that. Go ahead.
And I've heard, because depending on which way you be coming from Montana, I've heard, and I know this is all like hearsay, that they've closed down or they've blocked entrance and exits from certain freeways and streets. So, and that's up in LA and Orange County. And that information source is from a Target checker, so I'm not sure how, but based upon what her family members have told her. So I would agree that if you're going to do something, either come now or just hunker down to where you're at.
Awesome. And then I'm going to move on to the second question. Thank you guys for that detailed response. The question is, so for my understanding, because of this lockdown, I don't need to take my kid to the other parent while the statewide lockdown is in effect. So it's like suspending the court order. Are they going to send the other party an emergency order for that? And how does that work? So let's break it up. Question number one is, do you need to exchange the children while the statewide lockdown's in effect? Christy? I'm sorry, I'm going to unmute you unless you unmute yourself.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yesterday I had a lot of background noise, so I just want to make sure that everybody heard and got the information. I would say, correct, you don't need to take the child to the other parent. But I would also say that with a caveat, which is you better make sure that you give the parent contact, constant contact by FaceTime, Skype, whatever it is, chat like this, anything, because appreciate if you were in the situation that the child was with the other parent and what you would want, what kind of contact you would want with the child during this time. But, and also understand, and I said it yesterday and I'm going to reiterate it, this is going to pass. The courts are going to reopen. And I truly believe that the parents that aren't good co-parents during this time, that don't make sure and ensure that the child has daily contact by FaceTime or Skype with the child, that there may be a serious repercussion down the road. I recall when Hurricane Katrina hit, and I had a client who went to New Orleans, stole the child for a safety reason, and absconded to California. And the mother filed an emergency hearing after it was all said and done. And that parent, my client, got on monitored visits for their behavior. We have a code section, and it's, I believe it's 3011, which the court favors the parent who is going to ensure frequent and continuing contact with the other parent. So this is all temporary, and it doesn't seem fair. None of this is fair. But I am impressing upon every client I have and that you need to make sure that the other parent has daily, if not 5 times a day, contact with their child. But I would say no, you don't exchange. It is a health and safety issue. I see another question, B, and I think this segues into that. So if you don't mind, I want to read it. Thank you. So it says, I don't mean to dig into semantics, but if the children are in a joint custody arrangement, week on, week off, the other party has the right then today at 4 p.m. to deny the pickup of the children. Deny is a strong word, a very strong word.
And disliked by the court, correct, Christy?
Pardon?
Disliked.
Yes.
And disliked by the court.
It's a pejorative word, so we are not talking about deny. This is, you are looking out for the health and safety of your child. And again, if your text message or talking parents message is, I'm denying you visitation now, that will be a factor that the courts consider when this is all said and done. So it is really just, you're merely suspending the visitation because of a health and safety concern. And the next sentence is, because of this, and I'm so sorry, and I know I will Skype you 3 times a day for as ever long. You just leave the phone on. Let the other parent watch the child watch TV, like who cares? But that has to be the message, not I'm denying you, because that is just wrong on so many levels, and again, something that the court is going to take into consideration when this is all said and done.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I would like to add to that.
Absolutely, go ahead.
So I think the roadmap that Christy has laid out for us is, number 1, we need to communicate with the other parent. And I would not even use the verbiage suspending. I would use the verbiage, we are following the governor's orders. We were ordered to stay in the home. Number 1, communicate with the other side. Number 2, we talked about how there needs to be constant communication with the other parent. But number 3, Christy touched upon it. I want to go back to it. Once this is all over, we need to assure the other parent that they're going to be allowed make-up time. And I think that needs to go into whatever communication we give to the other side. I think Colleen has something to add, B.
Sorry, yeah, coughing. Well, you know, and as a completely non-legal approach too, I think that the conversation to have with the other side is, how can we make the best out of this worst case, this bad scenario? maybe we can find things and figure out between the two of us of ways for you to still engage with our children over FaceTime, over Skype, or whatever method you'd be using. I'm sure everybody has been looking out on what people have been doing out on like Facebook, reading stories to one another. You can do this through Skype. You can pick up your kid's favorite book and still engage with your kids this way. I know it's not preferable and it's not the same as being able to tuck your kids in at night, but this is still so important to find those connections and realize, that we're all in this. And the unfortunate reality per the order on all these orders that are coming down from the different governors of different states is that if you're found in violation of the stay-at-home shelter in place, you could, I don't know the reality of this, but you can also be punished. I mean, it's supposed to be taken very seriously. So what can we do to make this bad scenario a little bit better? And I think just finding some creative solutions and I'm not even thinking of the right word, not using those kinds of harsh words like denying, I'm suspending, no visitation to you. Say, listen, we don't have a choice here. So what can we do for the time being so you know that our kids are safe and they're healthy and that I'm still here to encourage your relationship with them?
Absolutely. And I'm going to add one last point. It kind of goes towards the next question, which is, so from what I understand, from what I heard, custody exchanges should not take place until further notice due to health and safety reasons. Is that correct? And I need you guys to understand that we as attorneys cannot and absolutely will not ask you to violate a court order. We are forbidden from doing so, but you need to state, and you need to consider the circumstances in its totality, which is if there is a major safety concern and there is a governor's order similar to what's been issued, that you should be proactive, that you need to communicate with the other side. Use this as a resource, use this as a tool to help negotiate and put together some sort of temporary agreement or temporary visitation schedule, whether it's virtual or by phone, or make up time, as Christy indicated, make up time during summer or another break. That's what we're here for, and that's really the best that you can do in those tough times.
Yeah, I have something to add.
Go for
With
it.
regard to us advising the clients to break a court order, I think this is like a CPS case or a criminal case. There's oftentimes in law conflicting court orders. And then the question becomes, do you follow court order A or do you follow court order B? In my opinion, the order from the governor, and he indicated very clearly this is an order. The order from the governor overrides the state orders. He is the head of the state, and he's indicated, he's made an executive order, follow my order, not other orders. So I don't think we're advising our clients to break a court order in this instance. We're advising them which order do we follow.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you. And then Christy, back to you. Again, I'm gonna go through the questions to make sure that we address them, even if it's repetitive at a certain point, but it's always good to hear it again. If nothing else, we may have a different perspective, or one of the attorneys on the panel may have different verbiage, things of the sort. So the question is, what verbiage do you recommend we use with visiting parent when telling them that the child is needing to stay home with the custodial parent?
I think, excuse me, what Gina said is the best approach, which is, due to the health and safety concerns, we are now obliged, or we are now required to follow the order of the governor. And I think when you say it like that, it is, look, I'm not breaking an order. I appreciate our orders, but this is higher than us, if you will. This is more, it's just higher than us. So if you approach it in, more of a business manner when you're speaking of it, this is due to health and safety and the welfare of our child. and, you know, regretfully, this is how it has to be. But in that same conversation is, I have figured out these alternatives. I think that the custodial parent who's going to have the child or children right now, the onus is on you to give such a broad brush of options for the parent that is not going to see their child for an unforeseen period of time. I think you have to suggest that right off the bat. It's just not something like, oh, because of the governor's order, you know, visitation suspended, see ya. You know, it's not something like that. It is bigger than that. It is a, you know, please call me, let's talk about what we're going to do. You know, those are the messages that, again, when this is all done and the courts open again fully, those are the messages that are going to be rewarded.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy.
Yeah. And
also going back to what you said, I'm going to reemphasize it, and we'll make up the time when this is over.
Absolutely.
That's what's going to make the difference between you being punished when the courts are open and you not being punished when the courts are open, because we don't know how the judges are going to look at this, right? When all this is over, if you're doing this as a game, as a upsmanship to the other side, you will be punished. But if you do this truly out of the health, safety, welfare concerns of the state and of your child and of the other parent in both households, the court will see through that, and the court will not punish you for withholding a child.
And Gina, another comment to that, and I've done considerable minors counsel work, which means I represent children in court. And I'm telling you that the effect of how you handle this situation is going to define your children, and I believe their whole being, because they are scared. They don't know. They're not in school. You know, they're seeing the fear on all of our faces and the concern and the sadness. And this is going to get, I believe, worse before it gets better. But I feel like, you know, I always try to find the bright side of things. And I feel like that this challenge may make us all better co-parents and may make us better human beings. So just remember the compassion in all of this. And that's my comment on that.
Thank you. The next question, Colleen, I'm going to direct to you because I think it's a little different, but it's still kind of along the conversation that we're having. And the question reads, my 15-year-old is receiving text messages from the other parent daily, and my 15-year-old is refusing to communicate with the other parent. The other parent is making no effort to communicate with me in any way. Question number one is there any action I should take in this situation?
Can I answer that?
I think in this situation that you should reach out to the other side, because you'd want to know. And the teenage differences aside, just being that outed, I don't want to say the outed parent, but the other parent who has no idea and is not seeing the other child, not seeing the child at all, even 15-year-old. I think it would speak volumes if you reached out to that other parent and said, hey, I just want to give you an update. I just wanted to let you know what's going on. I'm going to talk to our kid and see what we can do so that she understands how you feel, or how he understands how you feel, that you're not seeing him or her, or and let's do our best here. But I think it would speak volumes if you reached out to the other party just to give them give them some updates and let them know what's going on and see what you can work out between the two of you.
And Colleen, before I ask you to add any comments, if you have, Christy, there's a second question, which is, should I find a way to force my 15-year-old to communicate with the other parent, or should I allow my 15-year-old and the other parent to work it out between themselves?
Well, I think you know better than I do about 15-year-olds. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and even trying to get them to do something that they don't want to do is difficult, but it's even harder for a teenager. I think that in this particular situation, that you reaching out to the other party and saying, given the circumstances, I know that the two of you aren't communicating. I'm going to step in here. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to talk to our child and see if, we can arrange something, because I know that right now it's anxiety ridden and that you're just concerned about our child, our 15-year-old. I just think that would probably go over the best in this particular situation, so everybody knows everyone's okay.
Okay. Christy?
I definitely have a comment. I have an 18-year-old, so I have a little more information. I think that you have to remember one thing. You are the parent. You are the parent. They are not the parents, you are. And you have to, lead by example. So maybe you reaching out to the other parent and your child sees that, maybe that will make all the difference in the world. But I think it is a serious conversation that you need to have with your 15-year-old to say, look, these are uncertain times. You need to be the parent. You need to explain to them the situation in a manner that is going to open the lines of communication. It doesn't mean that your 15-year-old doesn't still have a right to feel that the way that they do, but I think it's on you to facilitate that relationship and that communication and I think it starts with you, because you lead by example. And when your 15-year-old sees you reaching out to the other parent, I don't think it's going to be hard for that child to follow suit. So.
Thank you. And then the next question, Gina, I'm going to ask you to chime in on it, is, if my ex insisted to get our child in his time of visitation, what can I do? Are they going to be notified about this emergency order?
Well, I think it's up to the parents to communicate with the other parent and say, due to Governor Newsom's orders, we are ordered to stay inside, and unfortunately visitation is going to have to be suspended right now. The child will be available to meet with you on Skype, to speak to you via the phone, and we will arrange some makeup time once this is all over. But right now we are ordered to stay home and shelter in place, and we cannot leave the home. Just keep it simple. He may show up with the police at the door. I cannot imagine the police coming to even discuss this, given what's going on. And if the police come to the door, you essentially say, look, we're ordered to shelter in place. I cannot violate the order. That's really all we can do. This is unknown territory. None of us in our lifetimes have ever seen this before, and God willing, we never will again.
Thank you. And then there was a couple of questions concerning the billing. I'm going to allocate the last couple of minutes. I know we have 6 minutes left, but I'm going to allocate the last 2 minutes to address those because that is a different area. I want the focus of this conversation, obviously, to be about the children and about the parents. So I'm just going to, again, I'm not going to ignore them. I'm just going to come to them at the end. The question that we have is, we don't need to have anything official sent out to the other parent from your office regarding the facts that you all have stated, that the governor's orders supersede the court orders. What if they respond and tell us that they don't agree or believe that to be the truth? And Gina, do you want to chime in on that one? I saw you kind of reacted.
I will. It looks like Christy's got something to say too. It goes back to, this is uncharted territory. No one knows. Right? It's my opinion, my professional opinion, that the governor's orders definitely supersede the courts. In fact, the governor has told the courts to close. That tells you that the governor has power over the courts. But this is all going to come out in the wash when the courts are reopened. People are absolutely going to run in. The courts are going to be flooded with people saying, my husband or my wife is not complying with the court orders. There's going to be emergency orders filed guaranteed next week with these complaints. It's my opinion they will not be heard. When the courts reopen, people are going to have floods of complaints saying my opposing party did not comply with the court orders. And that's where we go to what Christy started with, which is the court's going to look at your actions. The court's going to look at, did you take reasonable steps to protect the health, safety, and welfare of your child? Did you do this in good faith? Did you communicate with the other party? Did you give the other party time to communicate, the ability to communicate with the child while this was going on? And did you offer makeup time? I think as long as you follow those simple rules, you will be okay when the courts reopen.
And I also need to indicate that we can't send a blank letter or a template to the other side indicating that this has to be dealt on a case-by-case basis. So if you are running into that problem, again, use this as a tool to communicate with the other side. We can draft emails, we can draft letters and send out, but I want you to keep an open mind that we're not going to send a letter that says visitation is suspended. No, we want to keep the doors open. We want to allow the children to have communication with the other parent. And it's our job to think outside the box of how we can help the other parent make that time so that it's not time lost. Again, put yourself in that person's shoe. I know you two may not see things eye to eye right now, which is why you're going through the divorce or the legal action. We get that. But in the same time, you have to put your differences aside and focus on the children. That's what matters most. And it's crucial that your children see you do this, not send the text in front of them, but I mean, they're sponges. They're going to absorb what's going around them. And it's much better for them to know that their parents can communicate during these tough times than their parents escalating things and making things difficult and harder for them. You have to remember, they're still trying to cope with this. They've been kicked out of school for God knows how long, and they don't know if they're going to be able to return this year. They don't know if they're going to be able to go to the next, ninth grade or 10th grade. They may be held back, and they're coping with all of that. So again, just remember, our job is a tool to communicate with the other side. It's not our job to dictate and tell them what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. If you're running into that problem and you need help and guidance, that's what we're here for more than ever.
And B, since we only have a couple minutes left, I want to share the verbiage that one of the viewers has used, because I think this is perfect. Due to Governor Newsome's orders, we will be staying home due to health and safety reasons. We will absolutely make up the time with you somehow when all this is over. In the meantime, we can Skype or call whenever you are able in order to help this time, to make this time easier. I think that is very good verbiage. As far as the memberships, I'd like to comment to that as well. We are not going to be suspending our monthly memberships because these are uncertain times, and I guarantee you, you are going to need us to communicate with you and work for you ever more diligently than ever before. Because the courts are closed, we're going to have to stay in much closer contact with our clients, and we're going to be touching base with each and every one of our clients weekly, if not twice a week, to help you guys get through this. May God bless us all, and may we all pray for the United States of America and each of every one of us. These are uncertain times.
And I will add one last thing. The one thing that we are doing for those of you who have received the email about the membership fee increases, that has officially been suspended company-wide. It will not go into effect. I believe that the email that was sent read until July 1st. At that point, we don't even know if it's going to go forward depending on how things are. So use this as a tool. Make sure that, because we still have deadlines, documents we need to file with the court, that doesn't